So Lee Atwater's famous Southern strategy idea was at one point you could just call them the N word. So, and was working in Ronald Reagan's White House when he was interviewed by Alexander Lamas. In this audio, made public for the first time ever, Atwater lays out how Republicans can win the vote of
Here's
racists.
how I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not,
Psychologists.
is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all aren't quoting me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts your backfire. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
This is fascinating. And I think it is even a little bit misunderstood because, so first off, he says, I'm a psychologist, which is a kind of true. And it's amazing that he thinks like that. So I'm a psychologist, so I understand these people and I'm going to kind of get at the heart of the matter and all that kind of stuff. Then he says the part that's often quoted by liberals when they're attacking Republicans, which is at one point in 1954, you could just say the N word. Now, I'm not even sure about that, but his point
In
remains.
in
And then
certain areas of the deep South, I'm sure you could.
if you're running as a Democrat in the deep South in Mississippi, you could just
Oh
just say that at a rally.
They
But
they would expect that of you, in fact. They would be disappointed if, oh
yeah,
man,
like
what a loser. What
like
a
raise your glass. Let us all say the N word together now. Let me
true
hear
son
you.
of the South, a true
Uh,
rights.
and why
Big
do these
fact.
liberals call us racist? I don't understand. I never will. We're just good people.
We're
Um,
defending our most solemn of states' rights, the state's right to say the N word.
and loudly yell it if we so desire. But
Double yell, as it were.
so that's what he was talking about. And then he went to force busing or states' rights and all that stuff. And when he said all that stuff, you can tell that he doesn't take any of that stuff seriously. I mean, the whole states' rights thing was solved with iron and blood, let's say, in the 1860s. But now, when you talk about states' rights, it's just a euphemism for something else. It's a kind of metaphor for something bigger. And
Exactly.
he's
I
like,
think
now you can't do it. But what's fascinating about that quote, and I had not fully comprehended this, is that he says one way or the other, race is not going to be a factor. It's going to go on the back burner.
And all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger. So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
Okay, so isn't it weird? What he's saying at the end there is a little bit convoluted, but what I think he's saying is that we're going to solve the race problem one way or the other. Like, we can either become liberals or we can become totally abstract conservatives.
yeah, he's saying it has to be dealt with at one point in time, no matter what.
Well, but it has to go away at some point, is what he's saying. Like, we're dealing with the racial problem. It's not like he's saying we need to bring back Jim Crow or slavery or kill them all. He's saying that we're going to start talking about taxes to such a level that the whole thing becomes deracialized. Whether you actively become deracialized and join the Democrats, or whether you want to abstractly or like euphemistically become deracialized and join the Republicans.
Nice.
Isn't this fascinating?
Yeah,
Like there's
usually,
another layer to this.
yeah, usually we do just tend to think of it from, the liberal perspective of, oh, they can't say this anymore. But
Yeah.
there's a lot more to it.
And I think that's also true because first off, I mean, I can talk about this from a number of directions, but first off, the Southern strategy in the sense of using racism to encourage white Democrats to become Republicans, and then once you have them on the plantation, as it were, to like harden their attachment to the GOP. This has hurt whites, I would argue, in the sense that, white people benefit from those programs too, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
There are tons of whites on EBT at Walmart and whatever, and getting rid of that would just directly hurt them. Now, are blacks more likely to be on EBT as a percentage of the population? Yes, of course. I'm sure there's some blacks in South Chicago who are so hard up that they're not even on food stamps. It's just like it also hurts whites, and like this thing that I don't know. I've talked a lot about like the fact that there's not good public transportation around the country, especially in the South, and things like this. Isn't this a sort of maybe secondary or tertiary aspect or result of the fact that they're so racist that they don't want any black to enjoy the benefits of the government
Yeah, no whites enjoy
themselves?
the benefits of the government. Mississippi's like dead last in education, and the rest of the South is more or less along those same lines in terms of
Public
infrastructure,
health.
education, health.
Well, it's like when you get these arguments about like Medicare for all or something, and it's almost as if there's like one black person in North America who might benefit from it, conservatives freak out. We spend more on medicine than any other country on the planet, and it's the number one cause of bankruptcy. The welfare queens would be popping out babies at the maternity ward within the confines of being a national government. Them the rules. Like you can't. The possibility of a whites only social healthcare system is exceedingly unlikely, but the
Yeah,
possibility of Medicare for all is like pretty likely. It just strikes me as like bad faith politics at the end of the day. I just find it unbearable at some like hearing these arguments from white nationalists or whatever. It's like we can't do anything, in fact, because blacks might benefit from it.
you could even say that conservatism is the fear that some black somewhere a slight
It's
benefit
like enjoying
from the
himself or
government.
something.
They're
Yeah.
determined that yeah, they will actively enforce suffering on a large scale, as the South has demonstrated, if they can just
Yes.
guarantee that no black is able to leech welfare and get a free Cadillac. Those welfare queens with their Cadillacs driving up and that's a bad
But
Vegas.
they're getting welfare anyway. It's just such a non-issue. It's not like we live in a libertarian society where, if you can't afford the hospital bill, you just die or something. We don't live in that world. It's just a bad faith argument. The Southern strategy really has harmed whites as well.